Good day, everyone. I hope all of you are well. I'd like to thank Kelsey for inviting me to be here today and to thank each of you for wanting to understand more about people with disabilities. If you don't mind, I'm going to cut to the chase. I believe that providing a place in our community for people with disabilities is not all that different from providing a safe and respectful place for all people. I think the secret lies in seeing each of us, disability or not, as an individual person and accepting the whole person and being kind. Last year, I spoke to a group of medical students here at the University of Western Ontario, and I told them that it may be hard for them as future doctors not to see people as their illnesses or symptoms. So when a person has a disability, I think it may be easy to see them as their disability. But the truth is, it's not just doctors who do that. Many of us find ourselves looking at somebody and passing judgment that says they are broken. But when you think about it, each of us is different, disability or not. People with the same skills in the workplace may need different kinds of help because they are good at some things, but not at others. People with disabilities also all have different needs. Perhaps you'd like to know more about me and about my experience. I was born on a Thursday in August 1986. That makes me 34 years old. You're welcome. I don't know much about the first years of my life. I am told I lived with my birth mother for a bit, but I don't really remember that. When I was 2 years old, I was adopted by two wonderful people who I am lucky to call Mom and Dad. They are truly amazing people. At 3 years old, people were noticing my speech wasn't as developed as they thought it should be. When I was a little bit older, I had a hard time expressing my thoughts and feelings. Since I wasn't able to express my frustration, I took it out on my glasses. What did my glasses ever do to me? For some reason, I often broke a lot of pairs of glasses, even the ones that were not supposed to be breakable. During my childhood, I was seen by many different specialists as my parents tried to help me find less destructive ways to express myself. I recall someone from the school board saying that in her 25 years of work, she had never seen many kids more hyperactive than I was. I remember spending many days being tested for many things. I had physical problems too. I would often stand on my tiptoes a lot. I had physiotherapy to help with that and even wore cast for a bit. I remember when my physiotherapist went to the same church as my family. She was an altar server there, and I remember I used to tease her by standing on my tiptoes when she looked at me. She would often shake her head, but smile too. And I often get that same expression from people. This was somewhat of a frustrating time for my parents and for me too. Each doctor I saw sent me to another doctor and another and another. But there were no clear answers and no real assistance offered. Some tried harder than others, and their kindness has stayed with me. I remember one doctor in particular. She was a specialist I was sent to get tested when I was in grade 2, and I was all over the place. A lot of people would have been frustrated with this. Instead of getting frustrated, she was very calm and told me it was okay. We would play in a bit. It's funny that decades later, I still remember her kindness and her patience. School was hard for me. I never really fit in. I didn't have many friends, and I was teased a lot. I remember when I found out I was going to fail grade one, I was devastated. I remember going home from school and hiding in the basement and crying. I thought I was stupid, and I didn't want my parents to find out, even though they probably already knew. It was horrible. Looking back now, I realized it was a good thing to be held back a year. It gave me the extra time I needed to learn instead of being pushed through to the next grade. When I was high school, there was more testing, but again, nothing really definitive. Because I am good in some areas of learning, they labeled me as high functioning, as they called it, so I did not get the help that I needed or deserved. It wasn't until later, when I went to college and ran into some bumps there, I was finally given a diagnosis. At Fanshawe, with a lot of great help from my professors, guidance counselors, and most importantly, from my parents, I was able to successfully obtain my diploma. It turns out, in addition to ADHD, a developmental disability, and I also have a nonverbal learning disability. I am not sure how many of you know about nonverbal learning disabilities. If you have not read about them, please take a few minutes to Google it very soon. I think you'll find it very interesting. Oh, and by the way, the comedian Chris Rock also has a nonverbal learning disability. It meant I was really good at some things, especially remembering things I read and certain dates, but not so good at other things, including social perceptions and nonverbal cues. For instance, right now, you may be sending me signals that I am talking too much, but I wouldn't get those signals. So I hope you're not sending them to me. I also have coordination problems and special perception challenges. Holy smokes, that sounds like a lot of problems. But let me tell you this, those problems are not who I am. I am David Hill. I am a happy person. I like to make others laugh. I go to church. I love sports. I play softball, and I played floor hockey through Special Olympics. I also played ice hockey. Every year that I played ice hockey, I received awards for most improved, to sportsmanship, and most dedicated. However, that elusive Best Goalie award always escaped me. Oh well, I had a blast playing. I have my own apartment. I have great friends and a full life. Oh, and one very important thing in my life is that I have a job, a great job. I work 5 days a week here at Windsor Factory Supply, or WFS, in London. I am a cleaner. I also work as what is called a picker. I locate items in the warehouse and deliver them to other areas for distribution. I mentioned earlier about when respect and kindness have helped change my life. WFS, its leaders, and the people who work here have been tremendously supportive of me showing me the same kindness and respect. They are really a community that makes me feel like I belong and that I am appreciated. I can tell you, I sure appreciate them. They also have been very supportive of Community Living London, your organization that supports people with developmental disabilities, such as myself. I am a member of a group called the New Vision Advocates, which is located in Community Living London, or NVA as we call it. It is a group of about 20 people who have developmental disabilities who advocate for equal citizenship, acceptance, and belonging in the community. We also have a lot of fun together. You would find them interesting. Each member of our group is different. For example, my friend Daniel is a person who is on the autism spectrum. He loves to read, and I kid you not, even during our meetings, he often has a 500-page science fiction book on the go. He's smart and funny, and kind-hearted. My friend Amber uses a wheelchair. She is not able to use her voice to speak, so she uses a device that speaks the words that she types. But she sure makes her opinion known. She also goes out into the community to make presentations, and she does not let her disability slow her down. My friend James is a full-time receptionist at Community Living London. He has a car and is married to a wonderful woman named Kelly, who is also a friend of mine. Kelly has Down syndrome. She worked at a law firm called Colin Hiley for many years and was a great bowler. Kelly has now developed dementia, as do many people with Down syndrome. James is a great husband to her. Like I said, you would like to meet my fellow NVA members. They are interesting people. Each has their own story, just like you. Public speaking is a big part of what we do. We give presentations in schools and the students at Fanshawe College and Western. 2 years ago, Daniel and I were a part of a group that was invited to go all the way to the Yukon to spend a few days making presentations to self-advocate groups, their support staff, government officials, and the community. It was an honor, and it was great. And New Vision Advocates also is highly involved in educating and work Community Living London's work as well. I am also a member of the board of directors of Community Living London, now in my 6th year on the board. In 2018, I decided to run to be a member of the board of directors of the provincial organization, Community Living Ontario, and was successful. I got re-elected 2 years ago. This year, I'll be running again. So you can see, the big picture is much bigger than David has a disability. Like I said earlier, I have 2 very supportive parents who are always challenging me to do more and taught me to never let my disability define me. And along the way, there have been some wonderful people who have tried really hard to help me, especially here where I work. I may not have had all these accomplishments and successes in my life if I didn't had the support and people who believed in me and encouraged me to just do it. So that's the bigger picture. That's the big picture of me. I'd like to share a few things you may want to consider as you work with or make friends with people with disabilities, or even both. People are not defined by their, number one, people are not defined by their disability. Keep in mind, they're a whole person. Number two, a disability is not an illness or a disease. For instance, I don't feel sick or even sad that I have a disability. It's just part of who I am. While you may have to consider my disability if we work together, please try to see beyond the disability to my abilities. Oh, and I'm also not looking for a cure for my disability or to be fixed. Number three, each person with a disability is different. Some have better cognitive skills than others. Some can communicate better than others. Some may require more time than your average person because they have trouble explaining things or putting their feelings into words. For example, I know from my own personal experience that there are times I have had a hard time expressing what I want to say. I have the words in my head and I know what I want to say, but they don't always come out as fast as I want or the way I want. This can be very frustrating for me and for the person I am talking to. People have said, "Come on, David, spit it out." This can be very demeaning. Number four, if you are able to focus less on the person's disability and more on who the person really is, then I think you will find that we have a lot more in common and we may make a few friends. Number five, and this one is the most important one for me. Be kind and be respectful. Disability or not, most people know when we are being brushed off or being talked down to. Sadly, we are kind of used to it. There's still some mean people in this world. But many of us, including me, have also been met by and been helped by wonderful, kind, and smart people. I hope you will strive to be one of the kind ones. Remember the golden rule. Treat others the way you would like to be treated. Thank you for your time today. I'd like to turn things back over to Kelsey.